dream destinations, exceptional cruises, polar adventures. Welcome to Beyond the Horizon, the podcast that takes you where the journey truly begins. A production of Area Voyages.
So, imagine you're building a royal warship.
Okay.
Like the absolute pinnacle of 17th century engineering. It is dripping with gold leaf, it's armed to the teeth, and it's basically designed to completely conquer the Baltic Sea.
Right, the ultimate status symbol.
Exactly. So you launch it to this massive fanfare. The crowds are cheering, the king is there, and then right there in the harbor, literally just 1,300 meters from the dock.
Pretty even out of the gate.
Right. A single gust of wind catches the sails, water just rushes into the open gun ports, and the entire thing sinks like a stone.
Just a completely catastrophic, embarrassing failure.
Oh, totally humiliating.
Yeah.
Yet, somehow, 333 years later, that very same sunken disaster is hauled out of the mud, and it becomes the most visited attraction in all of Scandinavia.
It really is, the ultimate paradox.
Yeah.
I mean, a spectacular failure of naval engineering that gets preserved by this completely accidental stroke of oceanic chemistry, which, by the way, we will definitely get into later.
Oh, absolutely. The chemistry part is wild.
It is. And it essentially handed modern Sweden this perfect frozen time capsule of its own imperial past.
It's amazing. Well, welcome to this special deep dive. This deep dive is produced by Area Voyages.
That's right.
We are here to take you on a meticulously planned journey straight to the heart of Scandinavia, providing honest advice and, real-world tips for a smoother voyage.
For sure.
And if you want to experience this yourself, the Area Voyages contact number is 1-888-460-3388. Again, that's 1-888-460-3388.
You definitely want to write that down.
Definitely. So today, our mission is to give you a massive shortcut to being deeply well-informed about Stockholm.
Yeah, we're really digging in today.
We're pulling directly from the Ultimate Stockholm Travel Guide by Yvonne Jr. Blanchette, who is a travel and cruise specialist.
A fantastic source, by the way.
Oh, incredibly detailed. We're cutting out all the standard tourist fluff, Just extracting the absolute best nuggets, like where to eat, what to see, and how to actually understand the distinct, almost magnetic composure of the Swedish capital.
Composure. Yeah, composure really is the operative word there.
It really is.
Because Stockholm, it really resists the simple, dramatic narratives of other European capitals.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it doesn't scream at you the minute you step off the train, the way Paris or Rome does.
Oh, right, yeah. Paris is very loud right away.
Exactly. Stockholm draws you in with a profoundly considered approach to urban life.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you really can't understand that composure without understanding the astonishing geography it's actually built upon.
Right, the 14 islands.
Yeah.
Because when you look at a map, it doesn't look like a traditional city at all.
Not even close.
It looks like a handful of puzzle pieces just dropped right where Lake Mälaren, which is this massive freshwater lake, empties out into the salty Baltic Sea through a really short channel.
Yeah, the geography is totally unique.
So the city is genuinely embedded in the water.
Right.
I mean, it's not like Venice where the buildings are sinking, but it's this mix of medieval stone and pristine nature.
Right.
But the bridges aren't just scenic, right? They are the absolute lifelines of the city.
Oh, completely. And the ferries aren't just for tourists either.
No.
They are literally your morning commute. The geography acts almost like the chambers of a heart.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Thanks. Each island is isolated by the water, but they all function together, pumping the life of the city through these aquatic arteries.
Yeah.
It's a completely different spatial reality than a massive, sprawling concrete grid like you'd find in London or Berlin.
But wait, I'm stuck on something right from the jump here.
Sure, what is it?
You say it functions together, but doesn't a city broken into 14 separate pieces of land just feel, disjointed?
It sounds like it would, yeah.
Right. Like if I'm visiting for the first time, it sounds like an absolute logistical nightmare trying to get from one island to another just to find a cup of coffee.
I mean, it would be a nightmare if they hadn't spent the last few centuries perfecting the infrastructure.
Okay, fair enough.
But the why behind this geography is what's truly fascinating.
Yes, so.
Because they couldn't build this endless urban sprawl, right? The water actively forces the city to break up its own density.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it acts as natural built-in breathing room.
That makes a lot of sense.
Psychologically, it is almost impossible to feel entirely trapped by the urban environment there because you are never more than a few blocks from open, reflecting water.
Right, and the guide paints this really vivid picture of that. Like the late afternoon light hitting the water.
Oh, it's stunning.
Just imagine the sun lowering, striking the terracotta and ochre facades of the buildings in the old town.
Yeah.
And all of that warm color is just reflecting across the wide inlet at Riddarfjorden. It literally forces you to pause.
Exactly. You physically cannot maintain a frantic, stressful, New York-style pace when the natural landscape around you insists on that kind of serene, luminous beauty.
Right, it just slows you down.
The water naturally regulates the pulse of the city.
And because the city is fractured into these distinct land masses, each island has effectively sort of marinated in its own culture.
That's a great way to put it.
Developing highly distinct personalities over the centuries. It's like navigating a collection of micro-cities, really, each with its own specific job to do.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's start right in the literal heart of it. Gamla Stan.
The old town.
Built on the island of Stadsholmen.
This is the historical anchor of the entire city.
It really is. It's essentially this dense web of medieval alleys and staircases where the street plan hasn't fundamentally changed since the 13th century.
Which is pretty mind-blowing.
It is. You've got the royal palace, the cathedral, and these beautiful, towering Baroque merchant houses painted in these rich shades of rust, gold, and blood red.
So beautiful.
But just to give you a sense of scale, there is an alley called Morten Trotzig's Grend.
Oh, right! The famous narrow street.
Yes. It is exactly 90 centimeters wide at its narrowest point.
Oh.
That is less than 3 feet. You are walking down a staircase entirely trapped between these towering ancient stone walls.
It's an incredibly intimate, almost claustrophobic experience of history.
Yeah, definitely claustrophobic.
But the thing is, the aesthetics of Gamla Stan can actually be quite deceiving.
Really?
How so? Well, it looks like a pristine, beautiful fairy tale, right? But if you actually understand what happened on those cobblestones, the whole vibe changes entirely.
Wait, are you talking about the main square, Storgatan?
Yes, exactly, Storgatan.
Right, yeah.
You stand in Storgatan today, and it is arguably one of the most picturesque squares in Europe.
Oh, easily. It's gorgeous.
You have these gorgeous, tall, gabled buildings, people drinking coffee at outdoor cafes, just taking in the sun.
Right.
But in November of 1520, this exact spot was the site of the Stockholm bloodbath.
Yeah, the history here is incredibly dark.
Very dark.
So, King Christian II of Denmark had just successfully invaded and claimed the Swedish throne.
Right.
And he invites all the Swedish nobility, the bishops, the city leaders, to this massive banquet in the palace right next to the square.
Supposedly to celebrate his coronation.
Exactly. And he explicitly promises general amnesty for anyone who had fought against him.
But of course the amnesty was a trap.
Total trap.
Yeah. After 3 days of feasting, they just locked the doors.
Wow.
A kangaroo court was held, and the king accused his guests of heresy.
Just completely turned on them.
Completely. And over the next 3 days, 82 Swedish nobles and clergy were marched out into that beautiful square and systematically beheaded or hanged.
That's horrifying.
It is.
Yeah.
The blood literally ran down the cobblestones and into the alleys, like the one you just described.
So when you are sitting there, drinking your coffee in Södermalm, looking at those beautiful red and yellow facades, you are sitting on a mass execution site that fundamentally fractured the Kalmar Union and led directly to Sweden breaking away and becoming an independent nation.
It's intense, right?
It's crazy.
It's a perfect example of how Stockholm doesn't shout its history at you. The beauty remains, but the weight of the past is right there under your feet if you just know where to look.
Wow. Yeah, that really changes how you look at the old town.
But to really understand the city today, you can't just look backward.
Right.
You have to step across the water to Södermalm, which is the southern island.
Which is where you get this incredible geographical whiplash.
Oh, definitely.
You walk out of a 90-centimeter medieval alley, you cross a bridge, and suddenly you are on Södermalm. If Gamla Stan is the history book, Södermalm is the contemporary novel being actively written today.
Yeah, Södermalm really represents the sociological evolution of Stockholm.
Okay.
Because for a long time, it was this gritty, working-class, industrial neighborhood. Yeah. But over the last few decades, it has completely transformed into the creative bohemian engine of the capital.
Right, it's that classic gentrification story.
Exactly.
But it has this very specific Swedish flavor.
It does.
The guide highlights the Sofo district, which for the listener is a play on Soho. It stands for South of Folkungagatan, which is the main street cutting through the island.
Right, Sofo.
And this is where you find this incredibly dense concentration of vintage clothing stores, independent record shops, third-wave coffee roasters.
Yeah, hipsters, basically.
Yes, the hipsters, and these incredibly niche design boutiques.
And you actually feel that shift in the topography as well, not just the shops.
How do you mean?
Well, Södermalm sits higher up on these rocky cliffs.
Oh, right, the elevation changes.
Yeah. There is this walking path called Montiliusvägen.
Okay.
It traces the very edge of a cliff, and the claustrophobia of the old town just vanishes completely.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
You have this massive, expansive, sweeping view across the water, looking back at the city hall and the historic center.
It sounds breathtaking, honestly.
It really is.
And then, as you move north and east, the micro-cities shift again. Yeah. You hit Östermalm, which is where the money is.
A very posh district.
Exactly.
Right.
Late 19th century stately grids, massive broad boulevards, luxury flagships, and serious fine dining. Yeah. And right next to it is Norrmalm, which is the commercial heartbeat of the city.
Right, where everyone is working.
That's where you find Sergels Torg, this massive sunken pedestrian plaza with a towering glass obelisk in the middle.
Very different vibe.
Totally. Yeah. It is strictly functional, mid-century, modern, and it's where the massive central train station sits.
So you can really see how the islands allowed the city to just compartmentalize its functions.
Yes, exactly.
Commerce has its island, history has its island, youth culture has its island.
Which brings us to Djurgården. Which sounds entirely utopian. I mean, an entire island right in the middle of a capital city dedicated almost exclusively to parkland and museums.
It's kind of unheard of.
You just take a tram or a little ferry over, and suddenly you're walking under these centuries-old oak trees.
Djurgården is essentially the cultural vault of Sweden.
Right.
And it is where we find that spectacular failure we were talking about at the very beginning of the deep dive.
The Vasa Museum.
The Vasa. Yes.
Okay, let's really get into this because the Vasa is the absolute crown jewel of Stockholm's attractions, and the mechanics of what happened are just fascinating.
Oh, it's a wild story.
So in 1628, King Gustav II Adolf is heavily involved in the 30 Years' War.
Right.
And he wants the most intimidating warship the world has ever seen.
Because of course he does.
Naturally. So he demands the builders add an entirely extra enclosed deck just for heavy bronze cannons.
Which, as anyone who knows boats will tell you, is a fundamental violation of maritime physics if you don't adjust the hull underneath it.
Exactly. It makes it completely top-heavy.
Yes.
The shipbuilder apparently knew it was a terrible idea, but, you don't say no to the king in the 17th century.
No, you definitely do not.
So they build this ship. It is incredibly tall, dripping with hundreds of ornate wooden sculptures, and wildly top-heavy.
A disaster waiting to happen.
They launch it, they open the gun ports to fire a salute to the crowd.
And lands.
A slight breeze hits the sails, the ship tilts, the water floods into the open ports, and it sinks with all its cannons right in front of the horrified public.
And it just sat there in the mud for over 3 centuries.
Yeah.
And this is where we really have to ask why it wasn't destroyed.
Because usually wood just rots, right?
Exactly. In almost any other ocean in the world, a wooden shipwreck is devoured within a few decades by something called Teredo navalis.
The naval shipworm?
Precisely. They are essentially underwater termites.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, they just eat submerged wood until there's nothing left.
Right.
But the Vasa sank in the Baltic Sea, and the Baltic is highly unique. It's fed by dozens of massive freshwater rivers, but it only has a tiny, narrow connection to the salt water of the North Sea.
So it's not actually fully salt water.
Exactly. Therefore, it is brackish. It has incredibly low salinity.
So it's not salty enough for the shipworm to survive.
You got it. The chemistry of the water actively protected the ship from being eaten.
That is such a lucky break for history.
It really is. So when they finally located it in the 1950s and managed the monumental engineering feat of raising it in 1961...
Which is a whole story in itself.
Oh, definitely. But when they brought it up, they didn't bring up a rotted skeleton. They brought up a 98% intact 17th century warship.
That is just mind-blowing. When you walk into the Vasa Museum today, the scale is just staggering.
Oh, it takes your breath away.
You are looking at an object that is stories high. You can still see the intricate carvings of Roman emperors, mermaids, and lions on the stern.
And they've even found traces of the original bright red and gold paint on it.
It is literally a frozen moment in time from 1628.
It perfectly encapsulates the imperial ambition of the era, you know?
Yeah.
But if we pull back a little bit, the fact that Sweden built an enormous state-of-the-art climate-controlled museum specifically to house and display this one ship.
Right. It's a huge commitment.
It says something profound about their dedication to public heritage.
Yeah, for sure.
And you see this exact same philosophy right next door at Skansen.
Oh, Skansen is phenomenal.
Have you been?
It's amazing. So, founded in 1891, it is the world's oldest open-air museum.
Yeah.
The founder basically realized that the Industrial Revolution was rapidly erasing traditional Swedish rural life.
Everything was modernizing too fast.
Exactly. So he traveled all over the country, bought 150 historical buildings. We're talking farms, bakeries, wooden churches, even Sami camps from the Arctic.
Just bought them all.
Bought them, disassembled them log by log, and rebuilt them on the island of Djurgården.
It's such a visionary thing to do because it wasn't just about putting objects behind glass.
No, not at all.
It was about preserving an experiential environment.
Right.
You walk through Skansen today, and there are people in traditional dress baking flatbread over open fires, you know, blowing glass and operating the old mechanical mills.
Yeah. And plus, it houses a full Nordic zoo.
Which is wild.
You're wandering around looking at 18th century barns, and suddenly you see brown bears, wolves, lynx, and reindeer.
Just right there in the city.
It's an encapsulation of the entire country, nature and culture, concentrated into a single walkable park.
The Swedish state has this really deep-seated belief that culture shouldn't be hoarded, you know?
Like locked away in a vault.
Exactly. It should be integrated into daily life.
Right.
And honestly, nowhere is that more violently, wonderfully obvious than in the T-bana.
The Stockholm metro system.
The metro, yeah.
The guide actually refers to the T-bana as the longest art exhibition in the world. And that is not an exaggeration.
Not at all.
Out of exactly 100 subway stations, over 90 of them feature massive, commissioned public art installations.
90%.
Yeah. It's like commuting through a subterranean modern art museum.
And it started back in the 1950s. The government decreed that art shouldn't just be for the wealthy elite who have the time to visit galleries.
Right.
It should be encountered by the working class on their way to the office.
I love that so much. And if you take the blue line, the stations are actually blasted straight out of the bedrock.
Right. They didn't even cover it up.
No. Instead of covering the rock with concrete or tile, they left the raw, jagged cavern walls exposed and let artists paint directly onto the stone.
It's such a cool effect.
The guide specifically points out Solana Centrum Station.
Oh, that one is intense.
It really is. You step off the train, and the entire cavern ceiling is painted this heavy, oppressive, blood-red color, while the walls are a deep spruce green.
Yeah, it looks almost apocalyptic.
It does.
But it's highly intentional. Solana Centrum was painted in the 1970s, and the mural spans nearly a kilometer.
Yeah.
And if you look closely at the forest scenes, you see illustrations of rural depopulation, you see the destruction of the environment by logging companies.
Really? I didn't know it was that specific.
Oh yeah, and the industrial pollution of the era. It is an intensely political, environmentalist narrative, permanently affixed to the walls of a transit hub.
That is wild. Imagine commuting to work every Tuesday and just walking through a massive 1970s critique of industrial capitalism.
Just on your way to grab a coffee.
Yeah. And then, for contrast, you have Djurgården Station, where they painted the rock in these vivid greens and reds, and then hung actual architectural fragments like pillars and statues from a real 18th century palace that had been demolished above ground.
It's completely surreal.
It is.
But you see the thread connecting these things, right? The Vasa, Skansen, the metro art.
Yeah, totally.
It is all about the democratization of memory and experience. They take the things that define their society and put them right in the path of the public.
Which perfectly explains why they also have a museum dedicated entirely to ABA.
Naturally, you have to have ABA.
You do. And the guide notes that ABA the museum is brilliantly self-aware. It isn't just some dry hagiographic tribute to the band.
Good. That would be boring.
It's wildly interactive. You can literally step into a sound booth and mix their tracks, or get up on stage with life-size holograms of Agnetha, Bjorn, Benny, and Annie Fried and sing Dancing Queen.
It just embraces the sheer joy of Swedish pop culture exports, without taking itself too seriously.
Exactly. It's that immense variety that makes the city so engaging.
Right.
I mean, you spend the morning harmonizing with holographic pop stars, the afternoon staring at a sunken galleon, and your evening.
Wow.
Let's talk about the evening.
Let's do it.
Because wandering through cavernous, art-filled metro stations builds a serious appetite.
It definitely does.
And this is where Stockholm throws his most unexpected curveball, the culinary renaissance.
Right, because if you had visited Stockholm in, say, the year 2000, the food scene was heavily reliant on traditional heavy comfort food.
Meatballs, pickled herring, lots of potatoes.
Exactly. It was hearty and it was good, but it wasn't exactly a global destination.
But the guide states that between roughly 2010 and 2020, there was a total paradigm shift.
A complete revolution.
Stockholm transformed into an absolute powerhouse of global gastronomy.
Yeah.
Today, the city and its immediate surroundings boast 26 Michelin-starred restaurants. They completely reinvented what Nordic ingredients could do.
They applied hyper-modern, highly technical execution to extremely localized, foraged, and traditional ingredients.
Yeah, let's look at the absolute pinnacle of this, Frentzen.
Oh, yeah.
It holds 3 Michelin stars. The guide describes it as a Nordic-Asian hybrid, but the experience is what's truly wild.
How so?
It's located in a renovated 19th century townhouse, and dining there is less like sitting down for a meal and more like a 3-act immersive theater piece.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
You don't just stay at your table. You arrive, ring the doorbell, and over the course of the multi-hour tasting menu, you literally move through 3 different floors of the house.
No way.
Yes. Changing rooms, changing atmospheres for different courses.
That's an entire orchestration of hospitality right there.
It really is.
But the contrast is what makes the whole scene so robust.
Yeah.
Because right alongside that high-tech theatricality, you have a place like Ekstedt,
Right.
which holds 1 Michelin star and operates on an entirely different philosophy.
Right. Chef Nicholas Ekstedt uses absolutely no electricity or gas for cooking. None.
Which is insane for a Michelin restaurant.
The entire kitchen runs on open fire birchwood. He is utilizing 18th century primitive techniques.
Just think about the immense difficulty of that. A gas stove provides perfect, controllable heat, right?
Yeah, you just turn a dial.
Exactly. Ekstedt is managing different zones of a burning wood fire using smoke, ash, and direct flame to cook with Michelin-level precision.
It's incredible. But how does that actually translate to the plate?
Well, they might use a tool called a flambadou.
What?
A flambadou. It's this conical iron funnel with a really long handle. They heat the iron in the roaring birch fire until it is literally glowing red hot.
What?
Then they drop a chunk of beef fat into the glowing cone.
Okay.
The fat immediately catches fire, melting and dripping as flaming liquid out the bottom, and they baste a raw oyster or a piece of langoustine with this flaming, smoky fat.
That sounds absolutely incredible.
Right. It sears the outside instantly while infusing it with this deep, primitive wood smoke flavor.
So it's taking the harshest, most elemental part of Nordic history survival by the fire in the dark winter and refining it into high art.
Exactly.
But here is the reality check.
Okay, hit me.
I am intensely curious about flaming beef fat and 3-story dining experiences.
Sure.
But the guide is extremely honest about the economics.
Yes, it is.
Stockholm is an incredibly expensive city.
Very expensive.
A standard mid-range dinner, not even Michelin star, just a nice dinner, can easily cost 400 to 600 Swedish krona per person.
Right.
Which is roughly 40 to 60 US dollars just for the main dish.
Yep.
How on earth does a traveler experience this food culture without taking out a second mortgage?
Well, this is probably the most vital piece of advice in the entire guide.
Okay, I'm listening.
If you want to eat beautifully in Sweden on a budget, you have to understand the institution of the Dagens lunch.
The daily life.
Exactly. It translates to the dish of the day. In Sweden, almost all high-quality local restaurants, the places you'd never be able to afford at 8 p.m., will serve a Dagens lunch between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And by law and custom, it is heavily subsidized by the sheer volume of office workers who rely on it.
So much cheaper.
Oh, massively. For roughly 100 to 150 Swedish krona, about $10 to $15, you get a hot main course, unlimited access to a salad bar, fresh bread, butter, and coffee.
Wait, really? And we aren't talking about a watered-down tourist menu with a sad sandwich.
Not at all. It is beautifully prepared, often traditional Swedish fare, like Wallenburgar, which is this delicate veal patty, or freshly caught fish.
That's amazing.
By shifting your main heavy meal to the middle of the day, you are not only saving a massive amount of money, but you are directly participating in the daily rhythm of the local culture.
You are sitting shoulder to shoulder with the architects, the bankers, the artists of the city.
Exactly.
That is a phenomenal cultural hack. And if you want the ultimate local lunch experience, the guide points you straight to Östermalmskällan.
Ah, the food hall.
Yes. It's a grand covered food market built in the late 19th century. From the outside, it looks like a magnificent red brick castle built in the Venetian Gothic style.
It's stunning architecture.
But inside, it's a sensory explosion of Swedish delicacies.
It really is the pantheon of Nordic ingredients.
Just walk past the glass counters. You see mounds of gravlax, which is salmon cured with salt, sugar, and loads of fresh dill.
So good.
You see vendisro, known locally as lodrom, which are these tiny golden jewel-like fish eggs sourced from the northern archipelagos, often served with sour cream and chopped red onions.
A total classic.
You see wild boar sausages and jars of deep red cloudberry jam, which is a tart, rare berry that only grows in the Arctic bogs.
Yeah, cloudberries are amazing.
And you can just pull up a stool at one of the counters, order a plate of cured salmon and a glass of wine, and eat lunch right in the middle of the bustling market.
It completely grounds you in the absolute physical reality of the landscape.
It really does.
But to successfully navigate from the food halls of Östermalm to the vintage shops of Södermalm, you need to understand the mechanics of the city.
The practicalities.
Exactly. The social contract that makes Stockholm function so smoothly.
Which leads us into those practicalities. Because the guide makes it very clear that if you show up in Stockholm with a wallet full of cash, you are going to have a really hard time.
A terrible time, honestly.
The society is near cashless. In fact, many cafés, museums, and even public toilets have signs explicitly stating they do not accept paper money.
Right, they just won't take it.
You just tap your contactless card or your phone for absolutely everything.
It's completely frictionless. But it also speaks to a massive societal shift, you know?
How so?
Operating a cashless economy requires an immense amount of public trust. Trust in the digital infrastructure, trust in the banks, and trust in the state's privacy protections.
Yeah, that makes sense. You have to trust the system.
Exactly.
And you see that efficiency in the transit system, too.
Okay.
The SL network, which covers the subway, the buses, the trams, and the commuter ferries, all operates on a single tap-to-pay system.
It's so easy.
You just tap your card once, it charges you 43 SEK, which is about $4, and you have a 75-minute window to transfer across any mode of transit you want.
So efficient.
And if you need to get in from the airport, the Arlanda Express is a high-speed train that rockets you straight into the central station in exactly 20 minutes. It's incredibly dialed in.
And that infrastructure actually extends to the social fabric, too. Like, you don't tip in Sweden.
Oh, the guide mentions that. It says tipping is entirely optional, or you just round up the bill to the nearest 10 if the service was exceptional.
Right, because in North America, tipping is a vital mechanism because service workers often make a sub-minimum wage.
Yeah, they rely on it to survive.
But in Sweden, the unions and the social welfare model ensure that hospitality workers are paid a living wage from the start.
That's a huge difference.
It is. The price on the menu is the true cost of the meal and the labor. It just eliminates the anxiety and power dynamics of tipping entirely.
It's all about reducing friction. You don't carry cash, you don't calculate tips, and the guide explicitly notes that Stockholm is profoundly safe.
Very safe.
And language isn't a barrier either. English is entirely universal.
Yeah, everyone speaks perfect English.
You literally do not need a single word of Swedish to navigate the city perfectly.
True.
But wait, amidst all this glorious convenience, the guide highlights one massive, uniquely Swedish inconvenience.
I know where you're going with this.
The Systembolaget.
The state-run alcohol monopoly. This always catches travelers off guard.
Right. So say it's 7 p.m. on a Saturday. You've rented an Airbnb, you're cooking dinner, and you just want to run down to the corner store for a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Impossible.
The guide explains that you can buy weak beer under 3.5% alcohol in regular supermarkets.
Right.
But for wine, spirits, or strong beer, you must go to the Systembolaget,
the government store.
And these government stores have incredibly strict hours. They close early on weekdays, around 3 p.m. on Saturdays, and they are entirely closed on Sundays.
Yep.
Why does a society that is so obsessed with frictionless convenience make it so incredibly difficult to buy a simple bottle of Merlot?
Because you are bumping up against a core tenet of the Swedish social contract. Public health supersedes commercial convenience.
Okay, explain that.
To understand the Systembolaget, you have to look at history. In the 19th century, Sweden had a catastrophic public health crisis related to alcohol, specifically homemade spirits. The temperance movement grew incredibly strong. By the early 20th century, they instituted the brat system, where citizens literally had ration books strictly limiting how much alcohol they could purchase each month.
Wait, actual ration books?
Yes.
So the current system is actually the relaxed version.
Exactly. They removed the ration books eventually, but they maintained the monopoly.
Fascinating.
By removing the profit motive from the sale of strong alcohol. I mean, there are no buy one, get one free sales, no chilled beers by the register to encourage impulse buying, and strictly limited hours the state actively limits consumption.
It forces you to plan ahead.
It does. It is a collective agreement that the inconvenience of planning your wine purchases is worth the massive reduction in alcohol-related societal harm.
So when you were standing in line at the Systembolaget on a Friday afternoon with everyone else in the neighborhood,
yeah,
you aren't just buying a drink, you are actively participating in a century-old public health policy.
Exactly. It's fascinating.
And frankly, knowing the hours is crucial depending on what season you visit, because the seasons in Stockholm dictate entirely different realities.
Oh, the climate dictates the entire social rhythm.
Packing for this city sounds like preparing for two completely different planets.
Pretty much.
Let's talk about the summer. In June and July, you are getting up to 18 hours of daylight.
It's glorious.
The sun barely dips below the horizon. It just sort of hovers in this perpetual twilight. The guide describes the city as turning into a massive outdoor party.
Everyone is sitting in parks, the ferries are packed.
And in August, you have the famous crayfish season.
A truly iconic Swedish tradition.
Picture long wooden tables set up outdoors, covered in massive piles of freshwater crayfish boiled in crown dill.
Right.
People wear these funny paper hats, they eat the crayfish with their hands, and they take shots of aquavit,
which is a traditional distilled spirit, usually flavored with caraway, dill, or fennel.
Okay.
You take a shot, you sing a loud traditional drinking song, a snapsvisa, and then you eat more crayfish. It is pure communal joy.
I love that.
Yeah.
But then the earth kilts.
Yeah, winter comes.
Contrast that with winter. By December, you might only get 6 hours of daylight. The sun rises at 9 a.m. and sets by 3 p.m.
It gets very dark.
The water might freeze, the wind is biting, but the city doesn't shut down. It turns inward.
It becomes a sanctuary of mice, which is the Swedish concept of extreme coziness.
Oh, mice. The cafés fill up. Every window in the city has a glowing Advent star or candles in it.
Yeah.
You have the Christmas markets in Gamla Stan selling roasted almonds and klog, which is this heavily spiced, steaming hot mulled wine.
It's the difference between an endless summer festival and a deeply quiet firelit retreat.
And depending on which version of Stockholm you want, the guide offers a great tiered list of hotels to serve as your base camp.
Because where you stay can really frame your experience of those seasons.
Exactly. At the luxury end, you have the Grand Hotel. This is the heavy hitter.
Oh, yeah.
It sits right on the water, looking directly across at the Royal Palace. It's where the Nobel Prize laureates stay. Pure, old world, 5-star heritage.
Very fancy.
For a boutique feel, there is the Lidmar, right next door, which features rotating contemporary photography exhibits and feels more like a wealthy art collector's private living room.
A very unhurried, sophisticated vibe.
If you want something more energetic, the Downtown Camper by Scandic is entirely unique. It's a mid-range hotel right in the commercial center, but it has this wild outdoor adventure aesthetic.
They literally rent out skateboards, kayaks, and paddle boards to their guests from the lobby.
That's so cool. And down in Södermalm, you have the Hotel Rival. It's an old 1930s cinema converted into a plush theatrical boutique hotel.
And the fun fact?
It's part owned by Benny Andersson from ABA.
A touch of pop royalty in the Bohemian district.
Naturally. So once you've established your base camp, and you understand the transit and the social rules, the map just opens up. Stockholm's pristine infrastructure practically begs you to explore beyond the city limits.
It is arguably the greatest launch pad in Northern Europe for wider exploration.
The most immediate pull is the archipelago. The guide emphasizes that you cannot truly say you've seen Stockholm until you've left the inner harbor.
No, you have to get out on the water.
The archipelago is a sprawling spray of roughly 30,000 islands, skerries, and rocks stretching out into the Baltic Sea.
It's an entirely different geographical scale.
You have the inner archipelago, places like Vaxholm, which is just an hour away by ferry. It's got this massive 16th century stone fortress sitting on an island in the channel, meant to protect the city from naval invasions.
Right.
And then you have the outer archipelago, places like Sandom. That takes a few hours to reach, and it sits right on the edge of the open, wild Baltic Sea.
It's mostly bare rock, windswept pine trees, and little red fishing cottages.
The visual of sailing through it sounds hypnotic.
Oh, you are just weaving through thousands of heavily forested, pristine islands completely disconnected from urban life.
And if you travel inland instead of out to sea, you hit the deep, ancient history of the region. Just 40 minutes north by train is Uppsala.
The Cambridge of Sweden?
Exactly. A historic university town founded in 1477, featuring the largest, most towering Gothic cathedral in the Nordics.
It's also where Carl Linnaeus, the botanist who invented the modern system of naming plants and animals, is buried.
The intellectual heart of the country.
Yep.
Right next to it is Sigtuna, founded in 980 AD. It is officially the oldest town in Sweden.
Over 1,000 years old.
You can walk the main street, which is essentially the same dirt path laid down over 1,000 years ago, and hunt for ancient Viking runestones just standing casually in people's front gardens.
It's incredible.
Or you take a boat to Birka, an actual Viking trading center from 750 AD, where you can walk among hundreds of 10th century burial mounds overlooking the water.
The layers of history are so close to the surface, and they're so physically accessible.
Then you have the royal escapes, like Drottningholm Palace is just a short boat ride from the city center.
That's the private residence of the Swedish royal family, right?
Yes. Often called the Versailles of the North. It features immaculate Baroque gardens and an 18th century theater that still uses its original hand-cranked wooden stage machinery.
Wow.
And if you want to go even bigger, Stockholm's Central Station is a master key to the rest of Scandinavia. You can hop on a high-speed train, glide across the massive engineering marvel of the Øresund Bridge, and be in Copenhagen, Denmark for lunch.
So easy.
You can take a train to Oslo to start a tour of the Norwegian fjords.
Yeah.
Or you can board an overnight sleeper train, travel dead north into the Arctic Circle into Swedish Lapland, and wake up at the famous ice hotel in Kiruna.
The connectivity is just staggering. But there is a very real danger here.
What's the danger?
The paradox of choice. If you tell a traveler they have access to 14 urban islands, 30,000 archipelago islands, Viking ruins, and Arctic sleeper trains,
It's too much.
paralysis sets in. You spend your entire trip staring at ferry timetables instead of experiencing the landscape.
Right. So if I only have a 4-day itinerary, how do I actually tackle this without losing my mind trying to see it all?
Well, the guide handles this brilliantly by providing a highly optimized 4-day itinerary that really curates the scope.
Okay, walk me through it.
It tells you exactly how to pace yourself. Day 1 is all about grounding yourself in the foundation.
Okay.
You stay entirely on the islands of Gamla Stan and Södermalm. You walk the medieval alleys, see the royal palace, and just get your bearings in the historic core.
So you establish the anchor.
Exactly. Day 2 is for the heavy cultural lifting.
Right.
You cross over to Djurgården. You spend the morning grappling with the massive scale of the Vasa Museum, and the afternoon wandering the open-air history of Skansen. You contain the museum fatigue to a single, beautiful island.
That's smart. And day 3?
Day 3 pulls you into the present. You head to Södermalm.
The hipster vibe.
Yep. You walk the clifftop paths, explore the vintage shops of Sofo, visit Fotografiska, which is the premier contemporary photography museum, and you engage with the hyper-modern culinary scene we talked about.
You see the Sweden of today.
Which leaves day 4 entirely open for the escape.
Oh, I see.
Precisely. Day 4 is specifically carved out for a targeted strike into the periphery. You don't try to see all 30,000 islands.
That would be impossible.
You take a single ferry to Vaxholm to see the fortress, or you take a boat to Drottningholm to walk the royal gardens.
Okay.
By restricting your focus each day to a specific theme and geography, the city remains manageable, And that composure we talked about at the beginning remains intact.
It's an incredible continuum, really. Just think about the reality of those 4 days.
Yeah.
Just start your morning running your hand over a 1,000-year-old Viking runestone in Sigtuna.
Yeah.
Spend your afternoon looking at an apocalyptic environmental mural painted on the raw stone wall of a subway cavern. Eat it.
It raises a fascinating chicken and egg question for anyone visiting. Does this intense, pervasive level of civic organization create the deep sense of composure we feel when we walk those streets?
Oh, that's interesting.
Or does the inherent Swedish desire for that calm, natural composure necessitate the intense level of rules and organization?
Wow.
It's a fundamental question about the nature of a happy society. And it is something to really think about as you stand on a bridge watching the late afternoon sun reflect off the waters of Lake Mälaren.
Is the calm a result of the rules, or are the rules built specifically to protect the calm? I absolutely love that.
It's something to think about.
It really is. This deep dive was produced by Area Voyages. Whether you're looking to pair Stockholm with Copenhagen, join a Baltic cruise, or build a private itinerary to the archipelago, Area Voyages handles the logistics so you arrive knowing exactly what to expect.
Highly recommend them.
Reach out to Yvonne Jr. Blanchette, travel and cruise specialist, at 1-888-460-3388. Once more, that's 1-888-460-3388. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration.
Thanks for having me.
We'll leave you to ponder that profound composure, and whether a city built entirely on water can teach the rest of us how to finally stop shouting and just breathe.
You've been listening to Beyond the Horizon, the podcast by Area Voyages. The full article for this episode is available at www.areavoyages.com. Remember to like, share the podcast, and leave a review to help promote our work. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. Until next time, safe travels.